want the microphone. Morning. I just want the microphone. Morning. Take the mask off your face and look at me face to face. Good morning. Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning. This world is getting so cold. I wanna keep running like a soldier. Somebody must have touched my soul, 'cause there ain't no stop. Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning.
Good morning, viewers, and welcome to the Tobago Updates morning show. It is 7 a.m. Yes, it is 7 a.m. and today is Friday, the 8th of July, folks. Friday, the 8th of July. We continue to give God thanks for life. I am Julian Skeet. And yes, folks, this morning we are relaxing out there. This morning we have a special edition on for you, folks. And for those of you who've been following us on social media, those of you who have been following Tobago Updates, this morning our special edition will focus on men and fatherhood, the discussion, folks, and we're looking forward to those discussions happening this morning. And this is courtesy the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection. Looking forward to this morning. We'll be chatting with none other than Nigel Phillips, Gender Affairs Officer in the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection, Kern Walker, Manager of the Community Residence for Children, and Michael Stewart, founder of Be Male, Examples Now, Be Men, and motivational speaker. So yes, folks, this morning we are talking men and fatherhood, the discussion, and we're looking forward to having all of you connecting with us, fathers, boys, girls, women. We want to chat with everyone this morning as we have our men in focus. So I want to use this opportunity to indicate, Ria, enjoy the time out today, but I know you will join us via the discussions here online to get into the mix this morning. Viewers, there's been much happening in the Tobago space, Trinidad and Tobago, the world at large. What is very important and what is very critical in these times is we really got to continue to give God thanks for life in the mix of everything happening, especially in these times. I also want to highlight for you, we would have seen taking place yesterday, successful execution up there at Castara. And yes, for those of you tuned in and looking on, those of you in Castara, those of you who participated in the activities itself, thank you so much for coming back to join with us again this morning from 7 a.m. for the Tobago Updates morning show. Yes, it was a long evening, but an enjoyable one at that, in terms of connecting and engaging out there. That was the Road Market 6 experience taking place, division led by Secretary Pastor Terence Baines, the Division of Community Development, Youth Development and Sport, really taking it up to the north side. And there was a sense quite naturally of persons almost saying that they are happy to be on the outside. Happy to be on the outside. And in those circumstances, we just continue to pray and to make all efforts that we can, even as we head on to join most of the rest of the world in terms of, by virtue of indications through the Minister of Health, that the target, and the Prime Minister himself, the target being just around mid-July or so, within a week or two, that we should be in circumstances where mask wearing would no longer be mandatory, and therefore would now become optional, at least in most spaces, and still some restrictions would exist in medical areas and so, and we look forward to seeing what the indication and the guidance would be. And as was said, all else being equal, all things remaining under control and remaining manageable within this space in terms of how we continue to operate. All right, so viewers, at this point we prepare to head on into some birthday celebrations this morning. Birthday celebrations. We head straight on to the lineup this morning for birthday celebrations. And this morning we start with Arias Dick. Alright, and we want to send out birthday shout outs to Arias Dick. We trust that you have an enjoyable one coming from the Tobago Updates family. And I see on set with us a Sylvester Jack. That's Sylvester Jack on our screens there. Wishing you a happy birthday, Sylvester Jack, as we continue to wish you God's blessings as we go forth. In the mix, we have Akola Ashby. This is Akola Ashby. And this greeting is actually coming out from your parents, Akola, Auntie Rhea and Uncle Oswald and the family, wishing you plenty, plenty, plenty love. All right, wishing you a happy birthday also from the Tobago Updates family. We're also sending birthday shout-outs to Celia Agard. Celia Agard this morning, and this is also coming from Uncle Oswald and Auntie Rhea in the mix this morning, wishing you a happy birthday. We've got on screen with us now Curleen McCall Woods. All right, wishing you a happy birthday, Curleen McCall Woods. We trust that you have an enjoyable one. Happy, happy birthday from the Tobago Updates family. In the mix with us now, Ellis James. Correction, this is Ellis James. We're saying Ellis James a happy birthday. We know that you will have a good time, so take some time out. Hard-working gentleman. And we see here on set Corey's Gordon. Corey's Gordon, we want to wish you a happy birthday and God's continued blessings every step of the way. And we trust that each and every one of you will continue to enjoy every bit of the birthday celebrations. And yes, for those of you joining us and connecting with us on the live this morning, those of you joining us via TV, we want to thank you so much. Those listeners on the radio, we want to thank you so much for the continued love and support. Yes, and I must pause for a moment. Normally this is where I turn to Rhea. I must pause for a moment this morning to continue to recognize our sponsor. And the combination this morning is a green and white stripe with a blended green blazer. And yes, folks, shirt and blazer this morning, courtesy Rashad's Men's Store. Rashad's Men's Store. And Rashad's Men's Store is located at the New Grange Development in Mount Pleasant. And the contact number is 631-1049. That's 631-1049. Remember to connect with Rashad's Men's Store, located at Mount Pleasant, Tobago. Viewers, at this point, as we continue to thank you so much for the love and support, we remind you that this morning our focus is on men. We're chatting in terms of that discussion. We're chatting about fatherhood and all things connected with men. So I know ladies and men, you have your questions ready and set, because we've got a major panel coming on here this morning, courtesy the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection. And therefore we look forward to those discussions, viewers. At this point, we want to thank you so much for the continued love and support. And we want to remind you, this is your opportunity, viewers, to share the live, share the live, share the live.
So cold. I wanna keep running like a soldier. Somebody must have touched my soul, cause there ain't no stopping till it's over. I wanna get up out my chair, cause everybody's
Tobago, it's your turn. The N3ATT hosts its 2022 National Junior Championships at the Dwight York Stadium on July 9th and 10th at 10 a.m. on both days. Admission $40. Children under 12 are free. Come see the best junior athletes from across Trinidad and Tobago, including those from the 2022 Carifta Games. This is the last opportunity for athletes to attain the qualification standard for the World Under 20 Championships, to be held in Cali, Colombia from August 1st to 6th. Tobago, come out and support the National Junior Championships, July 9th and 10th at the Dwight York Stadium.
MI4 Security Services Company is the most advanced security service in Tobago. Ask about our cash in transit service. It's safe, risk-free, reliable, and timely. We provide safe banking delivery for all business types and sizes with highly trained staff, 24/7 monitoring, coordinated emergency response, and a well-maintained fleet of armored vehicles. Contact us at 660-7723 or visit our website at www.mi4securitytt.com to sign up today.
Tobago
Tobago Glass Supplies has been a leading name for over 37 years in the glass and aluminum market in Tobago. We provide an extensive range of high-quality, innovative aluminum and glass products for commercial and residential use. Competitive prices with superior and professional services by committed employees who are guided by rigid quality standards. Tobago Glass Supplies specializes in the manufacture and installation of glass and aluminum products that are essential to today's homeowners and the business environment. We are engaged in marketing, sales and installation of a variety of products. These ranges from windows and doors to necessities such as mirrors for homes and vehicles, designed and manufactured in-house or imported.
Staying Alive, the benefit concert, Saturday, 9th July at O2 Park, Shagaramas. The Giants of Trinidad and Tobago on one stage.
Come and celebrate with us as we celebrate life and give thanks for the music. And we go down like kitty kill, kitty kill, kitty kill, kitty kill, kitty kill. We have a style like kitty kill, kitty kill, kitty kill.
Guess the band.
You want to know where we coming from? Say you want come look for me, yeah. If you're willing to have some fun, I will keep you company.
Staying Alive, the benefit concert.
There is nowhere else in the world you're going to see all of these giants on one stage.
Guess the band. Michelle Montano, Freetown Collective, 3 Canal, Orange Sky, plus many more artists to be announced. Tickets available online at islandetickets.com. All Häagen-Dazs outlets nationwide. And Ojo World, Saturday, 9th July at O2 Park, Shagaramas. Conquering all the obstacles.
Staying Alive, the benefit concert.
The Street 919 FM and the Tobago Updates presents the Tobago Updates Morning Show live simulcast on the Street 919 FM. Start your day with all the information you want and need with the simulcast of the Tobago Updates Morning Show live Mondays to Fridays from 7 a.m. on the Street 919 FM, the official station that defends the nation.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning, viewers, and welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show. It's 7:12 a.m. and in this segment this morning we are chatting about men and fatherhood, and this entire show, this entire set this morning is courtesy the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection, with that focus on men and fatherhood. And in this segment we begin the discussions with Nigel Phillips, Gender Affairs Officer of the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection, and Kern Walker, Manager of the Community Residence for Children. Good morning, gentlemen. Morning, morning.
Hi, good morning.
All right. So as we get started, let's start in your respective areas of responsibility before we even dive in fully to further discussions regarding fatherhood. A Gender Affairs Officer within the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection. What does that entail, Nigel?
Well, the Gender Affairs Unit is basically responsible. First of all, we work through all the various units in the division, each different departments, if I should say that, and also we work with alongside or network with other THA agencies to mainstream gender with the focus of men and boys, women and girls, with issues that affect both genders. So one of the issues that you see advocating quite a lot is the issue of domestic violence or family-based violence. So we look into a lot of those issues and work alongside those issues. We network with other agencies like the TTPS. We network with people like the Trans Authority and all these various agencies that affect issues that affect both genders, women and
right, excellent. Kern Walker, Manager of the Community Residence for Children. Tell us a little bit more about that area of responsibility.
Okay, so the Community Residence Home for Children, we are there so that we work as a rescue agent for at-risk youths, children between the age of 0 to 12 years. they live in. We also partner with the TTPS and Children's Authority. With my unit, we have caregivers, those that take care of these children, because at the end of the day, they are there for care. Children who need care and supervision. And as the manager for the home, it's my responsibility to ensure that we provide that service, that necessary service for these children who needs care, who needs love. We also are responsible to continue their education, also provide counseling, because some of them would come from traumatic experiences, traumatic households, and we also have to provide that spiritual part we also give to these children as well. So it's generally a home for children who needs a home and needs a place of safety, comfort, and guidance.
So as we, and I like the way in which you have looked at it in a very, very broad sense. And by the time you look at the both areas of responsibility, you kind of look at a good angle there in terms of the division as we begin this morning's discussion. And we're going to start, just as a reminder to our viewers, yes, it's not common that on the Tobago Updates morning show that we will have call-ins, but I want to indicate to you now is the time to take note of these numbers. 284-6597, that's 284-6597, and 356-8833, that's 356-8833, because we will be facilitating call-in as well during this morning show, the Tobago Updates morning show, as we discuss men and fatherhood. And yes, there will be giveaways. There will be giveaways, courtesy the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection. So ensure that you are paying attention and focused and zoned in here this morning to this discussion on men and fatherhood. As we continue the conversation, one of the areas we want to begin the discussion on is looking at the topic of masculinity. What's the definition? What's your definition of masculinity? And we start with you, Kurt.
Okay. So masculinity for me, it's all that attributes of a man. It's what forms his identity, that what we look at, what we see, how he operates, how he dresses, how he thinks, what he believes. All of that to me, it's what we call masculinity, because masculinity, it stems from that male outlook that we see, that we look for. It differentiates us from the other sex. So masculinity, for me, means all those attributes of a male, of a man.
Right. Let me get a perspective.
Yeah, so, my colleague put it in that particular way, which he is quite correct. When persons think about masculinity, is like, for example, you dress in something. What are the attributes in this person, this character that you dress as? So when person thinks about masculinity, they talk about someone who has that manness about them, that this person will carry about themselves in what people differentiate being male. And being male is that, okay, I wear pants, I wear a shirt, and I wear things that identify me as male. When person thinks about masculinity, they think about your voice. You know, they determine it as, okay, he has a rough voice, you know, and a person with that, you know, is like how he looks, you know, how he keeps himself. So when person think, they put different attributes to what is considered masculinity. You know, facial hair to some persons was said because, you know, the person has facial hair, you know, you have a very masculine look, you know, so or how you look rugged. You know, so persons may look at persons being rugged as a person as really masculine vigor or figure that they perceive. Yes.
So how do we then deal with the, you know, what I like to call the local thing when pressure is sometimes put, particularly on, you know, on our younger men or middle-aged men, you know, and some ladies or even some older men, you know, when you try to show those emotions or show a softer side. Come on now, man. Man up, man up. How do we treat with that in terms of, as we define masculinity? Is that really manning up part of defining masculinity, or is that more of a cultural kind of norm?
That notion of when person say man up, you know, and that is sometimes the reason for so many chaos in terms of the whole thing of violence sometimes. In terms of when you say man up, is that, okay, be a man. What it is to be a man, right? So persons have different perception on what it is to be a man. Some people perception of being a man is having many female persons in their lives, right? Or having many girlfriends in their life is being a man. The world will look at that in a very positive way. If it was in the other way around, they would look at it in a negative way. In terms of man up, you know, is that, okay, responsibility. The man is responsible for the home. The man is responsible for bringing money into the home, taking care of his children. But is that all to the rules of what a man should do? Right? Because the same thing that the man could do, also the woman could do as well. And that's looking at the gender aspect of it. Because when you say man up, what you're telling me to do is that you're telling me to affirm myself in a position that considers what it is to be male. You know, and being male now, it puts pressure on the male now to say this is the position that I should be in, and I should carry that position throughout. You know, so it sometimes put pressure now on the male in terms of his identity of who he really is.
So would you say, therefore, that, you know, that is one of the determining factors in today's society for, you know, describing male and the whole concept of masculinity?
Yes, because people put identity on individuals because they identify you by how you look, how you speak. They identify you by how you walk, how you socialize. So in terms of when you say in terms of masculinity, what is it for me to say that the person who doesn't have a beard, who doesn't have a big body, who dresses extremely neat and those things, that he does not have any attributes of being man or a masculinity feature or figure? Because people put identity on persons, and that is what confuses the whole aspect of what this whole gender thing is about. You know, how a man should look and how a woman should look. Now, my colleague may have a different ideology in terms of that, in terms of the twist, but the thing is that society looks at what is before them, and that is what is beyond that person.
And I'm particularly interested to get the perspective as well from you, Kuhn, in terms of engaging with our young boys, you know, and children as part of these same homes and so on, the residents that they're a part of. How do you go about defining masculinity, particularly in the context of today's society?
All right. So, good question. Because the area where I work and I function, I am exposed to predominantly young males. And as we know, the young children now, they look up to the older ones. And that is why most of them will look at their parents to be their heroes. They would look at their father, they would mimic or mirror that male figure in their life. And me being a male in where I work, I notice and realize that these young boys will look up to me. As the other day I was noticing when I go to work, when I reach to work, I would see them mimicking me. They would start to put their jersey in their pants, and they would start to put that bass in their voice, like, "Good morning, Mr. Walker, how you doing?" And you know, so we enjoy that because they understand that when I come on the compound, they see me as a father figure. They see me as a male structure, a male figure, and you know, the rapport that we have is that I always encourage them that you all are young boys, and you all would someday grow into or evolve into being a man. And it is important not just the look, the external shell of being a man, but how you carry about yourself, how you think, what you entertain, the conversation you all have, the respect you all give to even the females and your peers at the home, is all that constitutes in evolving and being a man. Because as we know, a lot of the expectation for men today is very high. And that is why we use the word man up, because our expectation is to be strong, is to provide, is not to, because they look at us. And that is very cultural too, because we grew up with that and don't understand why. That, okay, if we're crying for, get up now, man, you know. And it sometimes you have to remember that even men are humans too, and we have feelings. So I as a manager, as a father figure to these boys, explain that to them, that listen, it's okay to say how you feel. It's okay if you're in pain or you're hurt, it's okay to cry. It's okay, because expression is what is important, whether you're a man, you're a boy, or you're a woman. People need to express themselves.
I wanted to go a little further, because I know particularly you are one of those that we also continue to be very proud of as a young person with this level of responsibility. And folks, yes, young person, recipient within the last few years of our Tobago Awards and so on, Youth Awards. And bearing in mind, sometimes you take up a job, and then you recognize these are not things that are listed on your job description, but you have to go the extra mile. Yes. Tell us how that was for you as a young person transitioning in terms of doing your job to the best of your ability, but also recognizing in order to do your job successfully, I got to go that extra mile. Yes. And set that right example. How has that transition been for you in terms of inspiring and encouraging those who work with you on a daily basis?
Well, it was a journey, because when I first got into the field, it was more than I expected, and I'm going to be very honest, because it is more than a job. It's home away from home. It's like you are now given that responsibility to be a father in another home, and it also constitutes you to be a mentor. It demands that mentor stature from you. And I enjoyed it over a period of time, because I got to learn a lot. Because every day is a learning experience, wherever you are or whoever you would interact with, it's a learning experience. And I would have learned a lot for the past 8 years. I've been doing this and working with young children and, listening to how intelligent they are. Sometimes they would say things to you that it would wow you, that these children are so intelligent. And it demands me now, you have to now take things from you to know how to respond. It takes a lot for you to know how to answer these questions. And sometimes you're not prepared for it. So you have to sometimes leave it and go back and you ask me this and that, where did you hear that from? And it is so challenging, because you have a group of young people, different personalities. That is also one of the main challenges at a community residence or a group home. You have so much different personalities that you have to try to maneuver and try to understand and work with, so that they are now comfortable in that space. And also working with a team of brilliant staff, predominantly women, because the home, we have 8 caregivers, all are women, and having them to understand the role and function has also been a journey that we really want to achieve. That care for these children is just more than giving them a meal. Yes. It's more than just giving them a hairstyle, but it's being there and giving them that love, that attention that they seek, because children, they seek a lot of attention and love that they haven't got in the past. So we now have to find ways and be very creative in providing that, providing a space that they can be comfortable, that they can strive, that they can grow, and they can learn. So that is what I would have learned along the way and have imparted.
Certainly. Nigel, I want you to indicate to us, we do not necessarily live in an ideal world, but how is masculinity socially constructed? You know, from your area of training, and so, how would you define it in terms of those ideals?
Right. So when you talk about masculinity being socially constructed, what it's really talking about is that how the world perceive or the world perception of masculinity, the pressure on what the world put on men to, as they used the word before, to man up. You know, the responsibility of men being responsible in their various roles. So the world perception of what masculinity is, it could be right because it all depends on socialization, right? Morals and values. So every sector or persons or from different religious background or culture will have their own ideal on things of what it is to be a man. In some countries, you will see in order to be a man, you have the rites of passage, initiation rites. A man should go through pain. A man should go through different challenges, you know, to see how strong he is. In some areas of the world, to man up, and I would have used the term before, is having a lot of female spouses or female women in their life that they can have all these different affairs with. So the world constructs in terms of masculinity in different ideals to where, you know, to which setting it belongs to. In some culture, you will see that, you know, a man having 1, 2, 3 wives, and that is pretty okay. Not bashing any particular religion.
You know, I had to jump in here, yeah, in the regional context,
right?
You know, and this is one I'm waiting to drop on Mr. Stewart as well, based on what we have premised in our society as being acceptable.
Right.
And you look at what you have seen as the examples and so on, and in fact some make the statement, is it wrong if I can provide for all? How do you respond to men with that perspective?
No, but it's, at the end of it is what, you know, if that's what their religion consists of or indicates, then fine. But going a little further in terms of masculinity, and I would say it because sometimes women becomes very vulnerable in those cases where they expect the man to do everything for her, and when he's no longer there, then she becomes someone of being dependent in the sense of what to do. I don't have a job, I don't have this. But if persons were to really empower themselves to say, well, okay, I don't need a man to provide me for this. And you find a lot of women, or women now these days, are professional women, saying that I don't need a man. I don't need a male figure in my life because I can provide this for myself. So you know you have the professional women now evolving into that, where they said, here, what, all I need is just a child, and then after that, then you can go your way, you know. So so in the whole ideal of itself is that person definition of what masculinity is. It all depends in the settings to where they are socialized. Socialization, culture, all goes hand in hand in terms of what frames the ideology of what masculinity is. And coming from patriarchal system, what patriarchy is, it will tell you that men are the ones who are supposed to be in the forefront. It teaches you that in spiritual aspect as well, they put men on the in the forefront, that men is what it is to be ideal, to be the ideal man. The aspect of being what is an ideal man.
Right, excellent there, viewers. This is our first segment, and we're going to be coming back with these two gentlemen after the break. In fact, we might even dive in a little discussion speaking about what defines the perfect man. But we're going to also be looking at fatherhood in the discussion this morning as we're chatting about men and fatherhood, courtesy the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection here on the Tobago Updates Morning Show. At this point, we head on into the good stuff segment, the good stuff this morning. And yes, we have it here, another proud day for Tobago, as Joshua James has been retained by the Jamaican Tallawahs for the upcoming CPL. Yes, we continue to be very proud of our very own Joshua James, and this is the good stuff here this morning on the Tobago Updates Morning Show. We want to send our congratulations indeed, and we're looking forward to performance, nothing but performance. Viewers, at this point we want to remind you and thank each and every one of you, those of you joining us via Gael, via MNE TV, those listeners on the roadway, Smash Radio, and those via Street 91.9 FM, those connecting with us on TobagoUpdates.com, as well as those of you on YouTube and those of you on Facebook. We want to thank you so much for your continued love and support, and this is your opportunity to share the live, share the live, share the live.
Good morning, morning, good morning, morning. Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning. Good morning.
Looking for plants for your garden or even a thoughtful gift for a friend? We at Eden Nurseries are waiting to welcome you with our affordable prices and variety of indoor and outdoor plants, flowers, palms, soil blends, pots, landscaping services, maintenance, irrigation services, and water features. Visit our garden shop and nursery Monday to Friday 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Saturdays 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. located at the back of Orange Hill Gas Station, Shore Park, Tobago, or call us 639-0776 and let us help you bring your garden to life.
Excel Spa by Haley, where our highly trained staff are ready to deliver the top class services in facial massages, waxing, nail enhancement and body treatment. We are ideally located at Coco Avenue, Switzerland, Tobago. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, TripAdvisor, or you can call us on 730-0149. Excel Spa by Haley. Relax, renew, and rejuvenate.
Everybody only worrying. Never ever worry. Don't mind how things looking hard. I tell them never ever worry. If your nice car get damaged bad, I tell them never ever worry. What I'm saying is true. So just consider Tatil is always right here for you. I tell them never ever worry. Don't mind if life make you sad. I tell them never ever worry. If your house get flooded out real bad, I tell them never ever worry. What I'm saying is true. So just consider Tatil is always right here for you. I tell them never ever worry. If sickness catch you off guard, I tell them never ever worry. If times fall on you real hard, I tell them never ever worry. What I'm saying is true. So just consider Tatil will always be here for you.
Never worry about a thing. Tatil, where people are people. You know what I mean.
It's a different type of thing down there. And we party till we drop down there. With a lot of pretty girls down there. Down in Tobago.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning, viewers. It's 7:37 a.m. and this is the Tobago Updates Morning Show coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough. Yes, and we want to say thanks to our sponsors on board with us this morning. This morning we are talking men and fatherhood, courtesy the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection. And on set with us as we continue the discussions, we have Nigel Phillips, a Gender Affairs Officer with the Division, and Kern Walker, Manager of the Community Residence for Children. And you know, we started the first segment going in detail to the topic of masculinity. And one of the things I want us to move on to is looking at that definition of fatherhood. Some say you could have a dad, you could have a daddy, you could have a father. What would you define as fatherhood? And we'll start with you, Nigel.
First, let me say, having a child does not make you a father, because we have a lot of persons out there, men out there, who have children, but they're not acting the role of what a father is. A father should be one of someone who can provide moral support, right? A father should be one who should also able to provide a social support and values to their child's life. One who could provide love to their sons or daughters in the home and to guide them in the path that they see right. A father is one who should show that strength to say, well, okay, I am here for you when you need me. We have a lot of fathers out there who don't provide any of those things, and it really hurts. And I can tell you from my own experience in growing up, yes, I had a father in my home, but he didn't act the role as a father. Because a father is not just someone who would just give you stuff to make you feel happy. But the moral support wasn't there. The advice wasn't there. You know, his presence was just there. So we have some fathers who would give all of that to know, so that the son can say, well, okay, yes, my father is there for me when I need him. I can pick up the phone and call my father. I can sit down and have a talk with my father. You know, having a father as well is that you can do things. You know, you could be like your friend or brother, that you could relate any issues that is affecting you as a son. For me personally, I didn't have that. I would have learned those sort of attributes by other positive male models in groups that I was joining to, right? In sports groups, you know, or persons in the church I would look up to for that male support, because that's what children looks for. A boy or son looks for that male support, in the sense is that, yes, I don't have to look outside for that. I can have that positive male support in the home. And I didn't have that, but I learned it as I go along in life. So, and to sum it up all, you know, a father should be, it's like your right hand and your left hand of your body, where you can say, well, okay, yes, he is there, he's the most important thing in my life, and I'm very proud because he's my father. Doesn't matter who he is, but I'm proud to know that he's my father.
So certainly we're seeing a situation there, Nigel, where it is one experience would have certainly channeled you in a different kind of direction and to have a different level of appreciation, even in your life for today. Because for some, it could have been a scenario in terms of, you know, I didn't have it easy, so you know what, you ain't have it easy either.
Yes.
Kind of way in terms of treating with fathers. Kern, tell us from that perspective, you know, with regards to your definition of fatherhood.
Okay, so I want to also agree with my colleague here, how he nicely explained it, because we know we can have fathers, that is that person, that individual, that male, who would have his offspring, and automatically that he becomes a father because he is now that parent for that child. However, fatherhood, I would define fatherhood as that continuous involvement in your children or child's life. For example, fatherhood is that joy of dropping off your child to school, picking them back up, going to their sports game, being around, as my colleague nicely said, giving that moral and that moral support, being in the home and taking care of them, ensuring that you are there for their growth and their development, and not just your personal child or children, but it can also come in the form of you adopting a child or adopting children. So you now take on that responsibility to now care for these children and bring them up. And also, even if you are blended, as a blended family, you now take on these children who aren't your offspring, but you also care for them and see them as your children, and also provide and care for them and love them. That to me is what fatherhood is all about, because that hoodness is about being around, like your neighbor lives there, but your neighborhood is everybody that lives around that one area. Like the childhood is at that time of being a child. So it's the fatherhood means that time of being there, that being around. It's what fatherhood really means. Even myself, as the manager of a children's home, that's part of fatherhood, because I am now around these children and ensuring that they have all these amenities so that they can grow, they can strive, they can evolve, and that's fatherhood. And that's my interpretation of fatherhood.
So how as men, and we engage in groups, whether we connect with other men in the church, whether we connect, we lime at a bar, we bounce up at work, or we good enough. We come out of university, we study together, we have a good relationship and kind of connection. And then we hold these values for fatherhood. But we know that these same persons that we are very good with in our men cave and our men grouping are not upholding their responsibilities as they should. But you know what? In some instances, we feel that it's okay if I am doing it. But you know what? I don't want to put too much pressure on Kurt. Do we have a greater sense of responsibility as men, even in our private circles and spaces, to hold each other accountable in terms of taking on that greater level of responsibility as a father?
You know, that question you asked there, right? One of the things that jumped out at me is that some men don't like to be challenged. Some men don't like to tell, it's like, hey, I don't think you doing a good job as a father there. The question was like, who are you to tell me that I am not a good father? I am providing, he has shoes to go to school, he has this. But is that all to fatherhood? And persons have different concepts or perception of what it is to be a father. And then sometimes what happens to the child when there's a lack of that maleness at home, that father figure at home. And father doesn't mean maternal father where it is your maternal, father could, that perception could also be with persons who are assuming that role of fatherhood. But when children lacks that sort of relationship at home, they go outside and look for it. They yearn for it. Hence the reason why you find children going into gangs, because they feel accepted. You find children going into illegal activities because they feel more accepted, because the person who assumed the role of the leader or that person's in that gang or whatever, they see that as a figure that, yes, I can look up to this person. This person earns my respect. So men sometimes do not like to be challenged, because when you challenge them, it's about an ego now. Is that you're challenging me, you're challenging me as someone to say that it's not right for you to tell me who I should be, So we have a lot of boys out there, and I deal with a lot of youths as well, part of my job, and you find a lot of boys say, I don't want to hear nothing about my father, I don't want to see that man. Right? You'll have boys and say, well, sir, I don't have a father. And they tell you these things. And some will say, well, sir, daddy just there. Mommy does everything. And these are stories that you hear coming from our young men. And it feels as though it has come so accustomed that even when they become men, they may even assume the same position as just be laid back and not being what they should be in the forefront. So,
and that takes me to the follow-up question to you, Kurt. Should boys, socialize differently from girls?
I have to be very careful how I answer that question.
And the ladies are looking on as well.
Yes. I would say yes to some extent, yes, because I always believe, and as you know, you can't bend a tree while it's old. You have to mold and shape that tree while it's young. And while I agree that although boys and girls should socialize because it is healthy, because you teach them how to treat women, how to respect the other sex. But in terms of the question you asked, if they should
socialize differently. Boys socialize differently from girls.
It is important that they know who their identity in terms of socializing differently, because you want to ensure that the boys, when they socialize and they grow into what they should be. For example, young boys, you say that young boys should play with cars and not play dolly house and that type of thing. The reason for that, most of them will say, is because we want him to know that this is what it is being a boy, and that is what it means being a girl. And we always have to draw the line in where that socialization comes, because you want boys to grow up understanding that they are boys, and you know that you want them to understand that they would evolve into a young man, into a man, and that all of that attribute will let them know who they are and so on. So I believe to an extent that they should socialize differently to girls, because sometimes we don't want to have them so confused as to who they are, and that is why I believe that to an extent that they should socialize differently to girls.
Your perspective as gender affairs officer, and I want to put in the reality that is before us when we speak boys, girls, and we now live in a society that gives way for where you don't even have to define your gender. Is that a decision that boys and girls should only be able to make when they are 18, or should we give some kind of leverage prior to that? You have some parents that would tell you in our Caribbean and regional households, not while you're living under my roof. Right? And then there's a sense, almost like how some would treat religion. While you're living under my roof, you're in church every Saturday or every Sunday. When you reach 18 and you're outside, you could make an alternative decision. How does that connect, as gender affairs officer in your area of training, and so particularly going with, what has now become regionally and internationally accepted in many ways, giving way to defining boys, girls, and in some instances, not necessarily putting a label or a definition on gender?
No, that is a very interesting question. I can give you what is my beliefs,
yes,
and persons out there can tell you what their beliefs are, right? It's all belief in there. I cannot tell you what you should do within your circle in terms of what your family circle. Now, I would piggyback on one of the things that my colleague Kern said here, is that boys should have certain values in terms of what constitutes to being male and what constitutes to being female. Yes, I do believe that social construct should happen, right? That is in terms of my beliefs. But even though the world, you're right, the world has gone to where no gender until you could reach of a particular age to understand what gender you want to choose, right? Be it a binary gender, and they have all different classes of gender and sex in the world out there. Now, that is all well and fine for them, but it may not be all well and fine for me or my colleague here or other households. So if that's what constitutes your household, I have no choice to respect that. I don't have a place to say I don't like it, I don't accept it, but respect what your decisions are. So in terms of persons who say that they want to assume the role of whatever gender they want, that's a personal choice. So when we see all that is happening out there, it's a personal choice. It's by whatever decision they make. But when it comes to you and how you socialize and your own morals and values in your home, only then you can say differentiate is like, yes, I think this is the right way I should go. This is what I should be doing, and this is what constitutes me as being male or being female. And again, it's all about choices and morals and socialization. Again, goes back there.
And I'm glad you've mentioned choice. We now operate in a society where even boys and girls, our children, you know, they almost seem as though they have much more rights.
Right,
And the
yes.
confidence is there even now. The things I would not have dare asked my parents about, whether dad or mom, my 6-year-old is asking me. And she's comfortable asking her mother in terms of, you know, pressing and challenging the status quo. And therefore, you know, as we look particularly at the role of fathers, you know, I'd like you all to assist in defining what you'd look as a healthy male relationship.
Okay. So a healthy male relationship with whether if it's a boy or a girl, does it
Correct.
matter?
Between father and son. And you know, we connected there for now.
All right. So a healthy relationship between father and son, I would say, one, the most important thing is having a good rapport with your son, no matter what age. But that is important because you want that child to be comfortable coming to you to ask questions, to talk about stuff, because you as the father want to educate your child. Because if you shy away from that, you are now allowing other persons or entities like social media, the guy out the road, to educate them for you. And the information that they will give them would not be of your value, of your standard. So first, the first healthy relationship is to have that rapport, so that child is comfortable coming to you, telling you stuff, things that happen at school, because they are looking for your approval or your disapproval as the father. Also, you spend time with them, because children, especially children, they like to play. And sometimes as parents, we're too busy, we don't have the time to play with them. We have to find that time to play with them, because the same way we could find time to do other things, we can find time for them. We've spent so much time on the phone. Why can't we use some of that time and spend with our children and talk with them and listen to them and understand them better? Most of the times, you know, we only take in our children for such a small fraction, because they're in school, and sometimes when they come home, you may talk to them in that car ride. But after you're home, everybody's just busy. So healthy relationship is all about that communication and that time to play. And you have you watch TV time. And that is important, because you're now creating a bond. And that is very important for young boys or males to have a bond with their father and to understand that father's love, it's a different type of love. And most of the young boys, from my experience, from my field of work, you can see that they yearn and crave for that father's presence, that father's love. That's why I could speak from that standpoint, because they would come to me with all type of questions. They would come home from school, and they would come and, Mr. Walker has something to tell you. You know, they would want to talk about girlfriend stuff. And you have to know how you're responding, because you want to make sure you give them that right information. So that, because you are the one that they are going to come to. And that, for me, is one of the most healthiest forms of relationship that a father should have with his son, able to talk.
All right, viewers, at this point, we take a pause, but have no fear, we're not done yet. This is a special edition, courtesy the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection. Coming to you here this morning, the Tobago Updates Morning Show. This is an extended version. So at this point, before we continue the discussions, we head on over to Tobago Notes.
I decided to see what the Plant Protection Unit's plant clinic is like. On this particular day, I brought samples of a few plants like chocolate mint and rosemary. Plant protection specialist Casey Marie Boucher Koon asked me a few questions, made several observations about the samples, then checked them out using a microscope and came up with a diagnosis. It turns out the chocolate mint has been infected with a soft scale insect, while the rosemary plant is infected with an armored scale insect. Casey Marie then gave me several recommendations for treating with the pests. That's the process clients can expect when they come to Plant Clinic Mondays, a service that will restart in July of this year.
Now that things have improved concerning COVID-19, we will now be reopening our plant clinics on the first Monday in July, which is the 4th of July 2022, and that is now going to be returning to the face-to-face format of the plant clinic setting. That clinic will be available from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. every Monday, except on public holidays, of course. The clinic serves to give you a real-time response to a pest or disease issue. So when you come into the clinic, you will get an answer to your question. You will get the recommendation to help you within a short space of time.
Plant Clinic Mondays will take place at the Division of Food Security, Natural Resources, the Environment and Sustainable Development's head office. It's located on the corner of Milford Road and Sherwin Road. The mandate of the unit is to aid in food security by reducing crop losses brought on by pests and diseases. So in-person plant clinics is a great way to find out the state of plant health on the island.
What it also does for us on a national basis is that it's a form of soft surveillance. So something might be happening latently in the community, and because of the plant clinic, once people start reporting strange occurrences in terms of plant health issues early, we would be able to detect plant health issues at a faster rate, rather than waiting for an explosion of a said pest to know that we have a problem on the island.
But plant clinics aren't the only services provided by this unit. The plant protection specialist tells us of their other functions.
The services we provide to help farmers and growers alike are diagnostic field visits. That is where we come out to you depending upon a request. Most of our requests come via the extension department, or you can make direct requests to the plant protection unit. We also do some laboratory diagnostics. We also do plant clinics, and we are also responsible for surveillance and eradication exercises. We also do some training for farmers and home gardeners in the diagnosis of common pests and their management.
Even as the face-to-face plant clinic Mondays are to resume, people can still access the virtual plant clinics via WhatsApp. So if you have a plant problem or you want more information, you can call 482-7528.
That was a production of the Department of Information, Office of the Chief Secretary, Tobago House of Assembly.
Good morning, viewers, and welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show. And this morning we're speaking men and fatherhood. And this morning is courtesy the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection. And yes, we just want to connect with some of you on the live there. Let me give you the contact numbers, because now is the time to call. We're preparing to do some giveaways. The contact number is 284-6597. That's 284-6597, and 356. That's 356-8833. So that's your number to call. And the first question we're going to be doing a giveaway for this morning speaks to what are some positive disciplinary measures you can use for your son and boys. What are some positive disciplinary measures you can use for your son and boys? And we want to invite you to call in. It's 284-6597. That's 284-6597. And 356-8833. That's 356-8833. And you have the numbers on screen. This is your opportunity to call. And the first giveaway, the question: what are some positive disciplinary measures you can use for your son and boys? While we await those callers coming in, I wanted to touch very quickly. Tell us about your own very own experience, Kern, in terms of looking at what one would describe as positive disciplinary measures.
Okay. Well, I don't believe that. I think we should actually move away from beating children, especially beating boy children, as father beating boy children, because they would perceive that as a resentment. It's like my father doesn't like me. And that is the worst thing you could have when children rebel. Trust me, it's the worst thing. And most parents would agree with me when I say once a child starts to rebel, it is the worst thing that can happen because they move away from you so far that it's hard to pull them back. And I could give you a personal experience. When a while back, I would have had to take a child at the home. And this child came through the court. He was living with both parents at the time. And while living with
Well, let me ask you to just pause there 1 minute because we got a caller online.
Okay.
Yes, good morning, caller.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Yes, the program is great, but I would like to give one way we can discipline children. Yes. Outside of beating them, we can also take away privileges so we can explain to them what they did wrong and ask them, well, how they think they could resolve it, and then you help them resolve it, but also punish them by taking away certain privileges. For example, if they like to go to sports or something that they really love, and you can then explain to them why you have to punish them, and you punish them by that. That's my answer.
All right. Thank you very much there. And we're looking forward to some additional calls coming in. Thank you very much there, callers, for joining us. We're inviting the calls to keep coming. It's 284-6597 and 356-8833. And yes, folks, this morning we want to hear from our men folk as well. We want to hear from our men as well this morning to ensure that we get your perspective in the mix also as we discuss our men and fatherhood. Yes, you were relating and giving your experience.
Yes, so I'm saying we have to be very careful as fathers how we want to discipline our children, especially boy children, because over a period of time, it can turn around and bite you. And what I was saying was, there was this young male that was living with a stepfather, and at the age of 8, 9, this stepfather was physically beating this boy. And that happened for over a year, maybe 4 years, 5 years or so, until he was 15 years old. That young boy said, enough is enough. A particular day, that stepfather beat that boy, and he ran away. While he ran away, they was looking for him, nobody could find him. And that young boy, he ended up back in the house that night when everybody was asleep. He got back in the house, and while that stepfather was asleep, he was over him with a piece of wood, and he would have retaliated, and he ended up in trouble. He ended up in the system. And sometimes we really have to be very careful of how we punish our children, because over a period of time he waited until he felt he was strong enough and he was big enough to fight back. And he used that opportunity when this man was asleep, when he was very vulnerable, and decided, I am going to have my revenge. And we have to be very careful, because that resentment could have led to this man's death. Luckily that he didn't die from that attack. But saying this to say that it's a life lesson how we treat our children. Because at the end of the day, they have feelings too. And I like the caller, what she said. We have to find ways. You take away privileges. You realize this child likes to play video games and he's not conforming to the rules or maybe his chores. You take it away. And we have to be stern whenever we decide to go that route. We can't want to compromise if we are going that route. It's okay, so you did not do your chores, no video games until it is done. When it is done and it's done properly, then you're going to do that. So that way they understand that you are serious and you are setting a precedent that behavior, bad behavior, there comes consequences, and good behavior, there's reward. And when they do good, you have to reward them just the same. So it's not just you punishing them or giving consequences when they do bad, but also reminding them, if you keep doing good, you're going to be rewarded.
Right. So callers, we want to remind you the contact is 284-6597. That's 284-6597 and 356-8833. That's 356-8833. And we're asking you very quickly, and we've had a female start us off very nicely in terms of what are some positive disciplinary measures that we can use for your son and boys. And I'm also putting out the challenge. We want to hear from some of our men, at least the first male caller coming in there. Tell us about your positive disciplinary measures that you can use for your sons and boys. The number is 284-6597 and 356-8833. And very quickly to capture some of the feedback on the live, we have AJ Allen indicating fathers need to maintain the ability to influence their children. Rewarding and celebrating male success is important. Positive reinforcement. I want to thank each and every one of you continuing to connect with us on the live. Hey, I see our very own Doniel Vincent tune in on the live this morning. Aisha Moore, Secretary Faith B. Israel. So gentlemen, she's not going to be awaiting a report. She is getting it for herself directly. Secretary Faith B. Israel joining us on the live. Jerry Ali, Anna Lindo, Godfrey Moore, Hazel, Erla Hazel, QK Melville, and each and every one of you out there connecting with us. And we want to drop another question in the mix very quickly. As you see the contact numbers on screen to call, can you share a perfect father-son moment you experience? Can you share a perfect father-son moment, a father-son moment that you experienced? All right, so we look forward to persons calling in. These are the numbers on screen. For those of you listening via radio, 284-6597. That's 284-6597 and 356-8833. 356-8833. We're looking forward to that male calling in now to make that contribution in responding to that question. We've got a prize for you. All right, so men, this is your time to step up, and these questions are open for you to win some prizes this morning. All right, gentlemen, as we prepare to wrap this segment, and we're going to be heading on over, we were speaking into the matter of healthy male relationships. And I wanted to get your perspective, Nigel, specific at that too. Do you think a father or a male-headed household should encourage their sons to practice their beliefs? There's the feeling, Daddy, that was in your time. Do you think that should be imposed? So we'll hold on that answer as we take the caller online with us. Good morning, caller.
Yes, good morning to you.
Good.
I just want to mention that when we talk about discipline and punishment, they're two different things. Discipline is about training a child and giving them the skills how to be disciplined to do life. Punishment is for something that they have done wrong. So that is what I wanted to say. So if you can just get that going, it's fine.
Thank you. Thank you very much there, caller, for giving us that perspective. And we're looking forward, really adding to the mix, and we appreciate that very much. But this morning, we're putting some pressure on our men folk out there. Ladies right in your household, we want you to impress upon them. Yes, call in as well. I want you to also share your perspective in the mix. So we're looking forward to hearing from the first gentleman to call in to tell us and to share a perfect father-son moment you experience, either from the father or the son. Feel free to call in. We're looking forward to hearing from that. And we got prizes for you. We got giveaways courtesy of the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection. The question coming back to you, Nigel, in terms of do you think fathers or male-headed households should encourage their sons to practice their beliefs? In other words, should they impose it on them?
Well, we live in a time that things are evolving. So what my belief may be when I was growing up that make me to who I am today may not be the same thing that my son will want to adopt. Now, what we have to teach our children is the choices, respectable choices, right choices. And one of the things children want, or boys want, is to be heard, right? Yes, this is your choice. Yes, this is my choice. How can we negotiate to see a best fit factor that it works for me as the parent and the adult and what it works for you. But when we want to go against sometimes the choices that our children make, right, they tend to rebel, one, and when you rebel is that they close up and they don't want to share anything with you as a parent. So Kern would have explained earlier on is that how can we be our children's friend or brother, in other words, because if you have your child being very open and open up to you, at least you can know, well, how can I reach them halfway? They will know what their father's expectations are in terms in terms for they to help them make the right choices that they meet every day.
All right, Kern, as we wrap this segment before we continue this morning, your closing words.
Well, in that regards, I would say impose is such a strong word. I believe as a father or as a parent, we are to guide them. And guide them because they would come to you and ask questions. They would come to you to be informed. And when we guide them, we don't need to impose anything on them. Because at the end of the day, they are your children, and this is how you want to structure your home. And if it is that they are in a disagreement to what you are trying to achieve in that household, that's when you give them that opportunity to express themselves and take that time to communicate with them. And it's not do it my way or else. That doesn't always work, and that's not the best way, because now you see now today that children are being more informed through the media, the social media. They are more exposed to information. So at the end of the day, we have to maintain that parental stature in that we are here to guide them in the best way and give them that opportunity to express themselves. So imposing, I think that's, I wouldn't say that we should impose what we know on them, because we are just handing down things how we know to do it then, and not even understanding why. Because our grandparents tell us, do it this way. But we never used to question why, but why? Somebody told them to do it that way. So, and now they are more curious as to why, because they are seeing other ways to do things. They are seeing other ways how things are done. And they also too would want to do it their way. So that's why guidance is very important as a father to a son, so that, you know, both you all work together in tandem of the goals that you all are trying to achieve.
All right, excellent. We have a caller online. Yes, this is our first, and I wait to hear that voice. Caller.
Good morning.
Our
Good morning.
first male caller here this morning. Yes, caller. Tell us your perspective and sharing that perfect father-son moment that you experienced.
No, I'm actually calling to ask a question.
No problem. Go ahead with the question this morning.
My question is, okay, so I have a son, and in growing up, you will discipline him whenever he goes wrong. At what age should you, as a father, stop from disciplining him and say, well, you do what you want? Is there a cutoff point? Or is supposed to continue until he's a big man or what? At what age is supposed to stop from disciplining the son?
Right. Yeah. So you hear the question being presented. So the caller is speaking to, at what age is there a cutoff where you stop exercising that ability to discipline as a father, in terms of particularly when it comes to dealing with your son? Or is it that's something that is done continuously?
No, it doesn't have a specific age to cut off discipline, you know, because it's how you're at an advantage if you start training your child at a young age. You're at an advantage, so that they would continue that as they go. So they would understand what your do's, your don'ts, your expectations are. So you wouldn't necessarily have to find a cutoff age. If it is that they live under your roof and you have a certain amount of expectation for them and they are going against that, then there are other ways you can deal with that and you can treat with that. Because when you're an adult, it's different to when you're a child. When you're a child, and that parent has that autonomy over you in which they expect you to operate in a certain way or they expect a certain behavior from you, then you would have to apply your disciplinary measure to suit that child age group, and you have to make sure that the discipline or the consequence that you use is applicable to that child's age group, that child's age. So at the end of the day, they can relate to you.
Excellent there. Just to remind our viewers again, the contact number is 284-6597. That's 284-6597 and 356-8833. That's 356-8833. We're speaking men and fatherhood, and yes, we've seen in the discussion starting us off in this segment this morning, we've had on Nigel Phillips, Gender Affairs Officer with the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection, and Kern Walker, Manager of the Community Residence for Children. And folks, coming up in the next segment, yes, this is a special edition this morning of the Tobago Updates Morning Show. We'll have Michael Stewart joining us on set, motivational speaker and founder of B-Men. So viewers, take note of the numbers. We've got more giveaways coming. It's 284-6597 and 356-8833. And let me very quickly acknowledge our viewers there are in the mix. I'm seeing some very positive feedback coming there. Nicole Williams-Wilson, yes, excellent discussion and very timely. AJ Gordon, I believe us males need to learn how to treat with rejection and disappointment. And we're going to be including Mr. Stewart in some of those discussions, and also how to respectfully disagree and voice their feelings. Mark and Hislop are giving feedback here. Thank you for this segment. Great program. Management once a quarter, please. All right, the secretary is on, and Tobago Updates is listening loud and clear, focusing on really giving some additional support and sharing the perspectives here of men and fatherhood. Viewers, this is your opportunity to share the live, share the live, share the live.
Advertise with Tobago Updates. Call 284-6597. If you have a small or large business, we can get your information in front of the masses. Reach our rapidly growing viewership on Facebook and YouTube. Promote your brand in Trinidad and the Caribbean through M&E TV Now and Gayel. Yes, we can build unique ads for your business. Call now 284-6597 and advertise with us.
MI4 Security Services Company is the most advanced security service in Tobago. Ask about our cash and transit service. It's safe, risk-free, reliable, and timely. We provide safe banking delivery for all business types and sizes with highly trained staff, 24/7 monitoring, coordinated emergency response, and a well-maintained fleet of armored vehicles. Contact us at 660-7723 or visit our website at www.mi4securitytt.com to sign up today.
Tobago, it's your turn. The N3ATT hosts its 2022 National Junior Championships at the Dwight York Stadium on July 9th and 10th at 10 a.m. on both days. Admission $40. Children under 12 are free. Come see the best junior athletes from across Trinidad and Tobago, including those from the 2022 Carifta Games. This is the last opportunity to be held in Cali, Colombia from August 1st to 6th. Tobago, come out and support the National Junior Championships, July 9th and 10th at the Dwight York Stadium.
There's a taste in the air everywhere. Feel the vibe cause it's so. I relax a while, it's fun and good cheer. Ooh, enjoy every scoop. Ooh, every taste will get you up. We have flavors that you love, a combination special. Come along, enjoy your treats. This is Uncle Pete's.
Staying Alive, the benefit concert, Saturday, 9th July at O2 Park, Shagaramas. The Giants of Trinidad and Tobago on one stage.
Come and celebrate with us as we celebrate life and give thanks for the music. And we go down like kitty 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 kitty. We have a style like kitty 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 kitty.
Guess the band.
You want to know where we coming from? Say you want come look for me. Yeah. If you're willing to have some fun, I could keep you company.
Staying Alive, the benefit concert.
There is nowhere else in the world you could see all of these giants on one stage.
Guess the band. Michelle Montano, Freetown Collective, Three Canal, Orange Sky, plus many more artists to be announced. Tickets available online at islandetickets.com. All Haagen-Dazs outlets nationwide. And Ojo World, Saturday, 9th July at O2 Park, Shagaramas. Conquering all the obstacles.
Staying Alive, the benefit concert.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning, viewers, and welcome back to the Tobago Updates Morning Show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough. We just recognize again this morning our shirt and blazer courtesy Rashad's Men's Store. Rashad's Men's Store located at Mount Pleasant, 631-1049. That's 631-1049. And yes, I always have to give my kudos there to my barber in the mix. Classic Cuts by Aquilon, located down there in Susuland. Remember to connect with them for your appointment. Check them out on our Instagram as well as on Facebook. Classic Cuts by Aquilon. As we continue the discussion this morning, we are speaking men and fatherhood, and this morning is the special edition of the Tobago Updates Morning Show, courtesy the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection this morning. And we are happy to invite to join us on a set, joining in the mix and the discussion. And yes, folks, put your questions in there. He's here, he's ready and prepared. Continuing the discussion, we have Nigel Phillips, Gender Affairs Officer, and joining him on set we have none other than Michael Stewart, no stranger at all, motivational speaker, founder of B-Men, and certainly you just know him in the mix. You could throw any question at him and he's ready to deal with you. He's ready to deal with you, particularly on this topic when we're speaking men and fatherhood. And you know, I just got a message via WhatsApp, and yes, I want to emphasize, folks, all these men speaking to you here today, including myself, it's not just a general discussion about men and fatherhood, and that is the job or that is the organization I work with. We're also speaking from experience in the mix. All fathers upholding that responsibility. We have a caller online, and to remind our callers, 284-6597 and 356-8833. Caller?
Good morning, gentlemen.
Yes, good morning, caller.
First of all, I want to take this opportunity to congratulate you on this program, because it's very interesting, very informative, and very educational. But I notice I am speaking, and you're also speaking on the television at the same time. Hello?
Yes, you go ahead, caller. You probably have a little delay where you are, but you go ahead.
Okay. All right. Thank you kindly. You've been very kind. I want to say, first of all, it's a very interesting topic, very educational and very informative, and very timely, taking into consideration what is happening in the country right now with the young people. Nobody in this world was born with anything, sir. It was and is provided to you by your environment. And we're talking about father and fatherhood, or parent and parenting. This is a very serious thing, and these are very situational things when coming to parenting and children. Because people in the country that we are living in, you have to understand there's something called culture. And within culture, you have different dimensions. A lot of things is responsible for environment. When parents, I am a parent and a grandparent and a great-grandparent, but we have to understand what we're talking about. If you're talking about education, only the leader or the father, if he's educated and understand the value of education, then he will instill that into his children. But if he is not, then life goes on. You have a lot of young people who are parents, but they don't know anything about parenting. It just happens sexually and just arrive when you become a father. But father and fathering is two different things. When you sit in your house and you talk to your child and you are talking to him with a certain amount of authority, that is not good. So you have to understand it has to start from day one. This is the problem that we face in Trinidad and Tobago right now. If you move around geographically in the country and the environmental situation with children and parenting. All right, three of you sitting on television there right now. I would like to suggest for your consideration, you should have one or two young people there so that they could face some questions and answers in the context of what we are trying to discuss here. But off the rack, with three of you sitting there, asking these questions, people are going to call in to share their own experience. But that experience will vary from village to village, culture to culture, religion to religion, and situational situation.
And that's exactly what we're looking for, caller. All right, so the caller is gone there, and we want to stem off of that, and that's the point of this discussion. Ultimately, men and fatherhood. It's not just about the perspective exclusively of those who are sitting on set, but it's really about the division, seeking to have that discussion and connecting with those of you viewers in terms of men and fatherhood. We have Mr. Michael Stewart on, and we're going to dive into the mix almost immediately. Is it important to have a father or positive role model in the household to move in that direction of what we consider ideal family?
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Julian. And I must start off by saying, in a time when men feel as though they've not recognized and emphasis not being put on men, I want to commend the Division of Health, Wellness and Family and Social Protection for having to have this program, and the Gender Affairs for being able to champion it. Now, to answer your question, is it important to have men, fathers, in the
positive role
model
in the family or in the home?
Well, actually, when you look at the importance of fathers in the home, it is said that if you, for example, 19.5 million people, according to the Bureau of Census in the U.S., 19.5 million homes, children grow up fatherless. That is 1 in 4. That is critical. But that is so critical in that if that is the alarming statistics just in that locale as to the number of children growing up in the father's home, what is the importance of a father in a home has to be asked. And when you look at it, and I want to use a biblical perspective, the Bible says the sins of the father will be visited on the 3rd and 4th generation. That means that whatever it is a man does impacts 3 and 4 generations down. When you have 19.5 million without a father, that's an impact in generations down the road. That is how critical it is. So when you look at the population of the jails, the statistic shows that those boys and people in the jail are populated mainly by fatherless homes. So we are now creating a society that has a definite negative impact because of the lack of fathers in the home. So if you ask how important it is very important, enough so that we could be able to take and pay attention and for fathers to return to the homes in order to solve that.
How do we then deal with that challenge? And it's something that came up in one of the earlier segments of the professional woman and some women taking the position I don't need. I don't need a man. I don't need a man for anything. I'm working for my own money. I could sustain myself. I could only know when I need you all for them kind of personal benefits. But beyond that, I don't need a man for anything. How do we then deal with that in terms of what might be that space where some women feel if I have the financial resources, that is enough to be able to support my child, and I love for them, I care for them, and I don't necessarily need to have that father around, because you know what? We don't make it, we don't have a good relationship, or I just feel I'm not fighting up with no man at all.
Right. You know, and that's an interesting perspective, because I remember a woman telling me that she brought up her son without any man, and she did a great job and so on. She really did a good job. She pointed to the fact that his success academically, his success as to what he owns his own house, his own car, etc. But you know, when you speak to the man, and you speak to the man and his wife, the man himself says, I am broken. The woman says he's disconnected emotionally. And one of the things that he complains about is, I did not have a father. So we tend to put it down into dollars and cents, material things. But the softer component that makes the man, that assures the man and shores up the man, is often missing when the man does not have a father. A woman does her best, and she does as much as she can, and we praise a woman for that. But we cannot replace a man, a male role model, and a father in the life of a son.
You know, when we talk that, I asked Michael Stewart very nicely, what's your take about these mothers who choose to posture and present themselves on Father's Day for recognition as well, because they feel they're filling the role of mother and father? Is that acceptable? I don't see men who filling the role, while it might be in the minority, you know, where they are taking care of their children exclusively. I don't see many men stepping forward to say, I want to be recognized on Mother's Day. What are your thoughts? what are your thoughts on that? We always see some women stepping forward on Father's Day.
Well, you know, you ask yourself, at which point would a woman say, this is my area of expertise that I'm good at, and this is the area that my husband or my mate is good at? I think we can't be all things to all men. And it is important for us to recognize that a man, there are things that a man can do that a woman, try her best, cannot reproduce. And part of that is what we are to our children. You know, a boy wants to see his mother happy. But one of the things he wants to do is see his father proud, which is a slightly different thing. So he does things to bring out that pride in the father. And we need to encourage the woman to recognize that he needs to make another male proud of him. In the absence of a male in his home, he tries to make his gang leader proud of him. He tries to make other guys proud of him. So we go off, we show off, we do the bravado and so on. Because there is a connection that we have when a male watch us and seem to appreciate what we do, which is different from what your mother would do and like what you do and so on and appreciate it. You know, when you look at that, that's what we have to try and put back in the boys, that I have somebody to bring pride to in their life. And most time it's another man who has testosterone in a high level.
But I just know, because Michael, you're talking there, and I look at it at another aspect, another point. Now, we have unfortunate situations where the father has died, right? We have unfortunate situations where the mother has no role models or positive role models within her reach that her son can emanate from, that can say, I can learn from this. Now the question is, what can I do? Because some mothers out there are very, very helpless. They don't know where to turn, you know, that they're fed up, and they just leave the son to do whatever that they see best to do. We had to ask ourselves, how can we reach those types of populations of persons who are helpless, a mother who is helpless? Because sometimes the mother herself sometimes depend on the school system, that if there are male teachers in the school, could help with that disciplinary measures. And some parents or some mothers will think that, okay, the only way I can deal with this is that I can have a police officer come and talk to my son. You know, so some mothers, they are very, very helpless. It's like, what can we do? And Michael, you have seen that, and I show with the young men that we see out there. You see that they are crying out for some positive maleness, and what they will put out there as positive maleness, it may not be the ideal what is positive maleness, right? So some persons will say, for comfort, I buy my son a video games. But then in the video games, they have all these aggressions and all these different things that are emanating from the video games. And one of the things that, and I know, Michael, you're very passionate about, is that what about mothers who takes away that visitation rights from the father? And they pump all the negative things into the head of their sons about the father, and then the son thinks something else different. And what about the aspect of co-parenting? What are the positive that we should, or advice that we should give in terms of co-parenting? And I know, Michael, you talk a lot on that, and I think it's something that we can even talk into in terms of co-parenting.
And I want us to look at that area specific, because we're treating with the realities where we have some homes where it is mom and dad have decided to go their separate ways.
Right.
You know, mom decides to keep the children, to keep the child in the circumstances. Some dads uphold their responsibility genuinely. Some dads, uphold their responsibility by virtue of the court, and some dads just don't uphold it at all, right? And I can't forget, some dads who uphold and are very willing receive resistance from the mother in that. What kind of advice in those circumstances can we give to parents, and specific at that, to our fathers in treating with those kinds of scenarios? You're out of the home. But you might be that willing father with a challenge. You might be that father deciding, what I only doing this through the court. And that father that just said, me ain't fighting up with she at all, but the child suffers. What kind of advice do we give to those groupings of fathers?
Well, depending on which grouping you want to take first.
Let's start with the father that just ain't fighting up at all because the mothers give him too much pressure.
Well, I think part of being a man is recognizing what you need to do for the good of all and not what you like to do. And even though a woman may try to disenfranchise you from your child, it is your responsibility. This child is yours also. And so it is important for you to do all within you, all you can to be there for the child, because the child would recognize the effort you are making. What the child also is going to recognize is the fact that you never fought to be in the child's life. So it is important to go out there and fight for that by all means possible. I also think that it is reprehensible when a court has to tell a man to maintain his own child. I think it is important for a man to be able to recognize, regardless of the relationship that has broken down or not broken down with the child and the mother, or me and the mother, it is my responsibility to maintain this child. And I know people, I know of gentlemen who have been maintaining their child regardless of what it is. In fact, I know of a gentleman in particular. The court awarded a certain amount to pay to the child because the woman went and said he wasn't when he was, you see. But the court awarded less than the amount he was giving her. And his lawyer said, then give what the court says. And he insisted, no, it's my child. The higher amount that I was given before, I shall continue to give it. It's just now going to be recorded. Now, that is what I consider a man. Because he knows what needs to be done in the interest of his child and not doing what is what he's pressured into because of circumstances, etc. Right? So to talk about the advice of what you're going to do to help these people, for example, the woman who doesn't have the role model. What we do as our group, the B-Men group, is that we provide mentorship. So I take boys out, teenage boys, who say that I grew up with my mother, the people around me are my aunts, I go to school, there are female teachers, and everything around me, females. And sometimes some of these mothers bring these sons. So I've taken them fishing, I've taken them to teach them to ride motorbike, and the group, would, those of us of our team, would come in there to give advice in many of the cases where boys need advice and so on. And I remember teaching, he was about 14 years old, 13, 14 years old, teaching him to ride a bicycle. And a man passed on the road and saw me doing that. And and scolded me. He says, "No, you teaching your son to the right." He did not know it was not my son.
You're taking licks.
I took me licks. Yes, but under the circumstances, his mother was not able to do it. So we need to now come in there as other men and the positive role model men to come forward and say, I'm willing to now offer my services to be able to help to mentor and to groom boys and so on. Of course, that has to be taken into context in today's world where people access boys under surreptitious measures in order to be able to do things that are nefarious. And so it is important for us to be able to sort of call the group of people that want to be mentors to boys, that they are genuine and they're really trying to do that which is in the interest of the boys.
Would you say that the role of other males within the environment becomes very critical? So, for example, for that home where you have a single parent mom bringing up a young male, a son, but you're faced with a circumstance where that is a single parent home, but the mother still has her father alive, the mother has brothers who are in and around, the mother is in church where she's engaging with other positive men folk. How critical does the responsibility come for all those men, even if they're not the father of that child?
That's where the village is. That's your village. Your village would be your father, your uncle, the church members, everybody. Yeah? So it is important for us to ensure that we use as many men as possible, good men, in the lives, particularly of boys, as they grow.
All right, excellent. So callers, we want to remind you at this point, the numbers to call are 284-6597, that's 284-6597, and 356-8833, that's 356-8833. Let me drop another question out there for you quickly, man. Describe 3 ways that a father can be a positive role model. Describe 3 ways that a father can be a positive role model. And we got some Bluetooth speakers and so to give away. We're inviting you now to call in, and we're looking to hearing from our men and boys. 284-6597, that's 284-6597, and 356-8833, that's 356-8833. And while we're waiting on those callers to come in, we're heading over to our photo. Back in the day. Gentlemen, you feel you can get a good guess of where this might be? Well, I see a look of shock on Nigel's face, so that probably gives away his age because he doesn't even have a clue where this is. So he's probably in the same boat. Scarborough Port. All right, I'm hearing Scarborough Port. And those of you joining us online, feel free to also
before
join
the
in
Deepwater Harbor
we're waiting to see you joining in the live. Those of you, feel free to drop your comments in the live. Where is this? Tobago back in the day. We got a caller online. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Julian. Mark and Hislop here. How are you doing?
Good morning, Mr. Hislop.
I have been trying to get you for quite some time. Before I say anything else, let me say good morning to all the viewers and listeners, and good morning to the panel. Thank you very much to the men that are currently stepping forward to provide support and in treating with the issues and the different concerns that men and boys face. I know the topic this morning is fatherhood, and I initially was going to call in during this segment when I guess you were asking for stories about a father-son moment that created a particular impact with young boys or men, or share your own personal story.
Yes,
I know the conversation have now gone past that, and I guess we're now talking about the dynamic of the father in the home and the different issues that goes along with that. So I just heard you invite calls again, so I call back in, but I'm not sure which particular matter should I contribute on.
All right.
I really would like to
contribute. Since I know you're so versed, I know I could drop the question on you. 3 ways that a father can be a positive role model.
Oh my good Lord! I mean, you only want 3? You only want 3? Okay.
Just 3 for now.
3 ways in which a father could be a positive role model, I guess, and this is specifically for young boys.
Yes,
right?
Correct.
Okay. Well, firstly, I would share, well, it's an example. We, as human beings in general, but in this instance, boys, when you're young, all children learn from imitation. You kind of imitate that what they see their parents doing. So the first way in which a father could be a role model for, I guess, his son is to give him the example, all the different cues that let him know this is how you operate as a male, as a man. Because whether we know it or not, most boys aspire to be like their dad, unconsciously, consciously, genetically, in every which way. So the first way is to provide an example of how to be a competent, responsible man. Usually that's why you'd see boys going about and following their dads and doing the things their dads do. I mean, going outside in the yard, working on the car, all the different things that are typically assigned to men. So when it is that you have that example, it heavily increases the opportunity for that boy to follow in those footsteps. Or any other footsteps related, but is a good example. That's one. Two, as this deals with the second topic that you were talking about, the dynamic between men and women in the household. A boy being exposed and seeing on a daily basis the dynamic between his dad and his mom, observing the differences that they have, but also observing the dynamic that they have, provides teaching points so that son could see how to interact with the opposite sex. And not just like the opposite sex as in his sister, but in a relationship setting. I think one of the main or major downfalls we are seeing currently in relationships is that dynamic between men and women in relationships where both parties are struggling to find common ground or to find a recipe that works to interact with each other. So that's the second example of how a father could have a positive impact on his son. And like, I can't remember the guy's name who was just giving the story about teaching the boy to ride the bike. And he also made Michael Stewart. Good morning, Mr. Stewart. I'm going to let you know, I mean, in case you didn't know, as of this morning, you could consider me part of your organization. Whatever needs to happen is going to get done. I mean, and I put in the comments when I was about to put, I'm not sure if I sent it as yet. If there's anyone listening, if I continue with the third example, if there's anyone listening that there are groups in Tobago or in Trinidad that provide support for men specifically, I know of two. I know about B-Men, and there's one that is put on by a guy named Cassian. Yes, I mean, if there are any other groups that provide this kind of support to young boys and men, by all means, share the information. We desperately need more of this kind of initiatives, and that's why I felt compelled to call in this morning. So the third example, as Mr. Stewart alluded to, when he was having a hands-on training and building those like foundational skills that boys need to be able to function as effective and competent men, when he was teaching the boy to ride the bike. Those are the kind of things that, I mean, we don't really appreciate it, you know. And he said something else. He said that single mothers do a monumental job in raising children. There's things that women can do and mothers can do that is irreplaceable and cannot be imitated by anyone else. Similarly, there's a particular thing that men can offer to their son. I mean, in evolutionary terms, it's considered like a rite of passage, where the men of the particular community will pass down knowledge and wisdom, and then eventually a sort of a test to then bring that boy into manhood. What Mr. Stewart was doing there with that whole teaching the boy to ride a bike is so critical to the development of young male mind. He's already offered his, the statistics. I know quite a bit more about the statistics of fatherless homes. What is the result for specifically young boys? There's an impact on young girls as well, but the impact on young boys is, way more dramatic, so that it's recognizable in many other statistics that you could list to show how that missing element turns out for boys. So the third example is the impact a father can have on his son is to provide hands-on training for the world that he's going to face when he becomes a man, and also be a part of that particular son's rites of passage to now take him into manhood. Let me just plug in my story I was going to call and share earlier.
Because time is running on us, but go quickly.
Okay, well, I'll stop there. But
I want you to stay on the line because I want to make sure they get your contact off air, both for Mr. Stewart and to collect the prize, because I think he has posted it so well. We got to have Mac and his love on this panel when you're having further discussions for that blend with perspectives. One of the things I want to put out there, and I like how he was able to go into those three areas, speaking to it as positive role models. But I want to touch into a little bit more of a controversial part, Mr. Stewart. We are in a society where it is, and we spoke to it before between Kern and Nigel, where it is, we have the notion out there that to be man is to have more than one woman, to have several in the society. And if you ain't doing that, boy, you're missing out on your boy days. You're missing out on that kind of thing. How do we respond to that kind of notion and that example that is set out there in terms of being able to stand as a man to say, yes, man, is it my time?
But it's unfortunate that the culture that we have engender and encourage it. You see a young boy, 6 years old, cute, looking good, and so on. And we grow up as adults to them, boy, when you grow up, you'll get plenty woman, boy. And we put that into the psyche of the young man then. But I think part of wanting a number of different mates is part of nature. But part of being human is disciplining that nature. So a dog can mate with as many as it like because it's a dog. It's an animal. But when it comes to a human, we still have that same nature wanting to mate with different mates all the time. But what makes us separate is that we are able to use this human part that animals do not have, which is to think with a higher thought process. And that is discipline. To say, listen, I may have the urge, but I do not have to give way to the urge because it is not in the best interest of the society and the goal. And so it is an unfortunate concept that the more women you have, the more masculine you are. I think it is the fact that a man can have one woman and make her happy the rest of her life is what is going to denote that tick of approval you now reach manhood.
Powerful indeed there. And I could see, I show you our friends and partners that they say, Michael, you're doing well, boy, but me and now you sticking to one at all. We have a caller online. Good morning, caller.
Good morning.
Yes, caller.
Yeah, good morning. Listen, my concern really is the overwhelming amount of young boys in schools, and where there are almost no male teachers at all. And the examples there where I know the female teachers are having serious challenges and so on, administrating over these boys and so on. And, how do the boys see the female teachers and so on? Because, and also for discipline in the school and all these things and the men to look up to and so on. Mike, I have a very serious concern about the lack of male teachers in most of the schools where 95% or more are female teachers. That seems to be causing a serious problem as breakdown as well. And I want to hear the panel on that, please.
Right. As we kind of wind down, let's start with Nigel and then we'll come to Michael.
That question that the caller called in is a question I have to deal with almost every week because I deal with young men and young women, in a system that, in the school system as well. And what you hear a lot of these young men will say when they come is that, sir, it's not my father. You can't talk to me like that, right? You can talk to me like that. And then you have young men will say things like, sir, I don't know who's my daddy, I don't know who's my daddy, So, so when they come now, sometimes it's easy for them to pour out because you listen to all the dislikes and the hate that is coming out. But then how do you deal with that in a school system? Because when they go back, it's the same thing going to come back out into the school system. And people see dealing with it is to suspend them. They're not seeing the fact that they are crying out that they need intervention, but they're seeing that they are troublemakers. They're saying that, okay, you know, I'm calling the police for you so you can have a record. But in terms of that, and that is what they're seeing as how they can fix it, but it's not the right way to fix it. So you will still continue to have that problem over and over and over in a system where you find a lot of young males are crying out for that help, but the help is not forthcoming. So I don't know if what Michael had to say with that, but this is what we're seeing in all the fights, and you're seeing fights that are happening that is so grievous that they want to kill, you know, because of all that anger that is bottled up inside of.
What do you think are some of the strategies that we can potentially look at in terms of responding to this concern?
Well, when a political party wins an election, one of the things that they try to do is signal to the nation, we recognize the role of women, and so we want to now increase the number of women on, you know, cabinets. Now making them vice president of the United States. Yeah. So I'm saying the same policy you can do for teaching, and say we need to be able to now go in there and recognize that the absence of male teachers in the school is going to create a disadvantage to our children. So we can make our policy the same way and say that we need a proper balance of males in the school. I was invited to St. Vincent, and I went in. They said that this school, particularly, it was a troublesome school. They were always having upheavals, etc. So I went in there was to speak, do my motivational speech to it, and the teachers were complaining and so on. And I asked the question, what is the ratio of male teachers to female teachers? From the time you hear a school is in disruption, there is a high chance there is a ratio imbalance. And they said the only teacher who's a male in the school is a principal, who's usually absent because he's busy, otherwise he has so many things doing. So it is really run by the females. No wonder it is in the state that it is in. In a part, you would have seen this thing on video, dads on duty. It went viral, where a school in the state was always being disruptive and so on, and a group of dads, fathers, decided to go in sequence to the school and just sit in the school compound. And the rate of violence and the misdemeanor dropped tremendously just by them being on the compound. That's the importance and the influence and the power of a man. So when my children used to go to Bishop's High School, I would just visit the school. I'll walk through the corridor, and you'll hear them saying, hey, your father, and things and so on, and the message went. And I would sneak out and leave, and they don't know when I've left. So that they don't know if I'm still on compound. So the behavior still would continue in a good way. So the father needs to be present, and we need to make policies that says in the school system, let's put a certain number of males in the school system.
Right, certainly. And folks, we are coming down, wrapping here for this special edition of the Tobago Updates Morning Show, courtesy of the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection, Men and Fatherhood, the discussion. A really commendable initiative here by the division. And gentlemen, I want to give you 30 seconds each, your closing powerful statement in this discussion here for men and fatherhood. We start with you, Nigel.
Yeah, no, the gender units see programs like these are very crucial programs, and crucial programs, especially in a time like this. And we could assure the population of Tobago, the listeners out there, that there will be more programs coming your way that deals with issue of single parenting, which we are dealing with, maintenance orders and different things that that we get into, so that persons could see where we can get the necessary help from. In the division, we have various units from therapeutical counseling, social workers, the gender unit, and all these various units that are out there to help in whatever way or matters that comes to us that we can refer you for the necessary assistance. So each and every unit will have their different programs coming to the people of Tobago, but the gender unit will be coming with a lot of other programs that will target the issues about not just families, but issues that affects gender in terms of parenting, and also in terms of working and networking with other agencies on the island. Like Michael is one of the agencies that we network with from time to time.
Thank you very much there. Nigel Phillips, Gender Affairs Officer with the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection. And Michael Stewart.
So I want to see a sustainable effort in the Tobago House of Assembly and in the corporate world outside of the THA. giving support to the inclusion of men and the relationship between boys and men. I'm talking about the schools, the education system need to get on board with the schools. We talk about community development, the sports in the area, etc., so that we'll have more of this discussion, but on a sustainable basis. And once we do that, I think that we're going to do well for the island, that we're going to bring down the crime. You're going to find a lot of better behaviors coming out of our boys and our children on it. And finally, I want to say, I like the shirt and jacket.
Good to see Rashad's men's store this morning. 631-1049 down at Mount Pleasant.
All right.
So certainly you got to check out Rashad's men's store down at Mount Pleasant there, and that's one of our sponsors on board here at the Tobago Updates Morning Show. Folks, you've heard here this morning, we've heard from Kern Walker, the manager of community residence for children. We've heard from Nigel Phillips, a gender affairs officer also within the division, and we've heard from Michael Stewart, motivational speaker, founder of Be Men, Be a Male Example Now. And we want to thank each and every one of you, all those viewers joining us via Gael and M&E TV, those viewers joining us online, as well as those listeners connecting with us via Street 91.9 FM and Smash Radio. We want to extend again our appreciation to the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection, certainly bringing forward this program, Men and Fatherhood. And as you have heard from the Gender Affairs Officer, this is only the start. Kudos and commendations to the communications team out there, communications manager Rian George, a secretary, Dr. Faith B. Israel. In fact, she tuned in for her very own perspective. She's not just waiting on that report. And Assistant Secretary Sonny Craig out there in the division, as well as all the hard-working members of the division, as we continue to bring the information to you. This has been the Tobago Updates Morning Show, a special edition courtesy of the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection. And we don't want to miss wrapping this morning before telling you that back in the day photo. Pull it up back there again for us very quickly. That photo is of the quarry in Studley Park, and I think it's fondly known as Barbados Bay Jetty. Barbados Bay Jetty out there in Studley Park. So if you guessed that, then you guessed it correct indeed. Because we want to thank you so much. It's Friday, and we want to make sure that you make every possible effort at this time to really connect with those persons. We're heading on into the weekend. And yes, Rhea, I know you're tuned in out there, and this is a very big day and happy kind of day for Rhea, because she says Friday is that day that signals we're heading on into the weekend itself. So therefore, viewers, we want to encourage you as far as possible to really be safe out there. As usual, we want to maintain those protocols that are still in existence with us, wearing that mask, ensuring that you social distance, sanitize, and wash those hands. And as I said, doesn't even have to be law. Let's wash our hands more regularly in terms of maintaining that cleanliness. And as a reminder, let me just mention, it's our information coming in as well that we're asking persons to be careful on the Plymouth Road and around the Wim area. We understand that there might be a bit of an oil spill on the road there, so we want you to be careful on the Plymouth Road and around the Wim area in that vicinity. Be careful, those of you in that area. We want to thank you so much again for continuing to connect with us here on the Tobago Updates Morning Show, and we certainly will see you on Monday. Folks, take care and bye-bye for now.
I don't want to pick your brain, I just want the microphone. Take the mask off your face and look at me face to face. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I wanna share my love, but it's gotta be with someone who's precious. You're never gonna get my love, accepting that you're real precious. You're never gonna cramp my style, baby, cause I get a lot of pleasure.